status of cooperation and took a number of decisions to move the regional process forward. I understand you have gone through the summit declaration. The meeting was preceded by the 16th BIMSTEC Ministerial Summit meeting. The summit was held under the theme of Towards a Peaceful, Prosperous and Sustainable Bay of Bengal region. The summit was attended by the heads of state and governments of the BIMSTEC. The summit reaffirmed its commitment to the principles and purposes of the BIMSTEC as enshrined in the 1997 Bangkok Declaration and take forward cooperation on the basis of the principles of sovereign equality, territorial integrity, political independence, non-interference in internal affairs, peaceful coexistence, and mutual benefit. The summit realized eradication of poverty as the greatest regional challenge to the development and expressed commitment to work together for the implementation of the Agenda 2030 of the Sustainable Development. The summit emphasized the multidimensional connectivity, trade, and investment as a key enabler to economic integration and a major contributing factor for economic and social development. The summit recognized special needs and circumstances of the least developed and landlocked developing countries in the region and underlined the necessity to provide meaningful support to their development process. The summit expressed commitment to making BIMSTEC a dynamic, more effective, and result-oriented organization. They resolved to leverage on BIMSTEC's unique position as a bridge linking South and Southeast Asia and make it an effective platform to promote peace, prosperity, and sustainability. The summit called for a fair, just, rule-based, equitable, and transparent international order and reaffirmed its faith in multilateralism with the United Nations at the center and the rule-based international trading order. The summit terrorism in all its forms in combating terrorism, including preventing financing of terrorist and terrorist actions, blocking recruitment and cross-border movement of terrorists, and countering misuse of internet to purpose of terrorism and dismantling terrorist safe havens. The summit reaffirmed its faith in principles and purposes of the Charter of the United Nations and pledged to strengthen the multilateral system by reforming its rules, institutions, and instruments to make it relevant to the present time. The summit reviewed the works and progress of the organization made since third summit held in Naypyidaw, Myanmar in 2014. Let me little bit brief about the suggestions and the decisions about the institutional reform took by the summit. For the institutional reform, the summit decided to establish a BIMSTEC permanent working group to deal with administrative and financial matters of the Secretariat and the BIMSTEC centers and entities. The summit also decided to prepare a draft of the charter for the organization, defining a long-term vision and priorities of the cooperation. This draft will be considered by the BIMSTEC Permanent Working Committee for its adoption by the 5th summit. The summit also agreed to develop the rules of procedures for the BIMSTEC mechanisms. The summit directed to explore the possibility of establishing a BIMSTEC development fund with voluntary contribution from the member states. The summit agreed to enhance the institutional capacity of the BIMSTEC Secretariat through financial and human resources to enable it to initiate projects and programs. It also agreed to raise the numbers of directors to 7, one from each member state in a staggered manner. The summit recognized to need to review, restructure, and rationalize the existing areas of cooperation and streamlining the activities. The matter will be taken up by the BIMSTEC Permanent Working Group. In poverty alleviation, the summit expressed commitment to the eradication of the poverty in the Bay of Bengal region by 2030, in the line with 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In the context of connectivity, the leaders of BIMSTEC countries resolved to establish multimodal transportation linkages and smooth, synchronized, and simplified transit facilities through the development, expansion, and modernization of highways, railways, waterways, sea routes, airways, among others in the region. The summit directed to conclude the BIMSTEC Coastal Shipping Agreement and the BIMSTEC Motor Vehicle Agreement as early as possible. It also called for the early adoption of BIMSTEC Master Plan on Transport Connectivity and assigned the BIMSTEC Transport Connectivity Working Group to work out the modalities of its implementation. The summit decided to establish a working group on information and communication technology to provide more affordable and high-speed internet and mobile access to the peoples of the region. In trade and investment, the summit renewed its commitment to an early conclusion of BIMSTEC Free Trade Area FTA negotiation. The leaders expressed satisfaction on the progress of negotiation on the agreement on trade in goods and agreement on custom cooperations. The leaders agreed to revitalize the activities of BIMSTEC Business Forum and BIMSTEC Economic Forum. They also agreed to assign the expert group on BIMSTEC visa matters to continue negotiation for finalizing the modalities for the BIMSTEC visa facilitation. The summit called upon the member states for early ratification of the Convention on Mutual Legal Assistance in Criminal Matters, expressed satisfaction that a large majority of member states have ratified the BIMSTEC Convention on Cooperation on Combating International Terrorism, Transnational Organized Crime, and Illicit Drug Trafficking, expressed determination to strengthen cooperation among the law enforcement, intelligence, and security agencies, and decide to hold meetings at the level of BIMSTEC Home Ministers as part of the promoting cooperation and coordination on counter-terrorism and transnational organized crimes. In environmental and disaster management sector, the summit decided to establish an intergovernment expert group to develop plan of action to improve preparedness and coordination for responding the natural disasters. In climate change, the summit reaffirmed commitments to operationalize the Paris Agreement in accordance with principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. The leaders expressed serious concerns over environmental degradation, adverse impact of climate change, and global warming on the fragile Himalayan and mountain ecosystems and their interlinkages with the Bay of Bengal and Indian Ocean. Decided to explore the possibility to establish an intergovernmental expert group to develop a plan of action for collective response to climate change for the region. In energy sector, the summit agreed to expedite efforts to develop a comprehensive plan for energy cooperation. It decided to continue an intergovernmental group of experts to enhance energy cooperation, including in hydropower and other resources of renewable energy. The summit also welcomed the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on BIMSTEC grid interconnection. The leaders called for an early operationalization of the BIMSTEC Energy Center to strengthen energy cooperation in the region. In technology sector, the leaders agreed to enhance cooperation in technologies, including for micro, small, and medium enterprises. We welcomed the progress towards signing the Memorandum of Association on the establishment of BIMSTEC Technology Transfer Facility in Sri Lanka. They also agreed to focus cooperation in human resources development, and education for the advancement of the technology in the region. In agriculture, the summit decided to deepen cooperation in agriculture and allied sectors, including crops, livestock and horticulture, farm machinery, and harvest management. Agreed to task authorities to attain food and nutritional security and preserve and promote knowledge about the